Young gobbos these days, all they do is bang around on their war drums. Whatever happened to good old-fashioned generic goblin noise?
This video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. If you're looking for cards in the US, look no further, as you can use the promo code MTGMudsta to get you 5% off anything on the site. You can also use the promo code MTGMudsta for 5% off your orders from Face to Face Games, Canada's largest Magic the Gathering store, with qualified orders getting free shipping Canada-wide. And if you just want to help out the channel, you can always consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month and join the generic Goblin Gang. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's game was filmed in my studio, with Kuzno back playing Lonis, Cryptozoologist, Bryce playing Atraxa, Praetor's Voice, Eric playing Go-Shintai, and I am playing Shorikai. We didn't record the opening hands, but Kuzno wins the die roll and starts us off. He draws and plays a Temple of Mystery, scrying 1, and passing. Bryce draws and plays a Verdant Catacombs. Eric has a World Tree which comes in tapped and passes. I just play an island. Kuzno draws and plays a Forest and then casts Lonis. He passes, and on his end step, Bryce cracks the Catacomb to find an underground sea. Bryce draws and plays a Polluted Delta, cracking it to find a tropical island and passing. Eric plays a Flooded Grove and filters his mana to cast Go-Shintai of Lost Wisdom. I just play a Plains. Kuzno has an island for turn, and casts a Graph Mole making a clue. Bryce draws and plays a Windswept Heath, cracking it and losing 1 to go and find another dual land, this time a Scrubland. Eric draws and plays Hall of Heliod's Generosity, and then casts a Dryad of Elysian Grove. He then plays a Plains as a second land for turn, and on his end step, gets a trigger from his shrine, and mills Bryce for 1. I draw and play an Inventor's Fair. Kuzno draws and plays an island. He plays a Daring Sleuth, which Bryce counters with an Arcane Denial. He then goes to combat and swings the Graph Mole in retaliation at Bryce, and passes after that. Bryce draws out the Arcane Denial, and Kuzno draws 2. Bryce then draws for turn. He plays a Misty Rainforest, cracking it and losing 1 to find Savannah, and then casts an Academy Rector. However, one good denial deserves another, as I counter it with my own Arcane Denial. With nothing else, Bryce passes. On Eric's upkeep, I draw 1, while Bryce draws 2, and then Eric draws for turn. He plays a Stetson Champion, and during his end step, I get milled for 1 when he pays for the Go-Shintai trigger. I draw and play an Unlicensed Hearth. I then play a tapped Hollowed Fountain as my land for turn, and pass to Kuzno. Kuzno draws and plays an Urza Saga, and then casts a Soul Ring. He then casts a Beast Whisperer, making a clue token, and swings the Graph Mole at Bryce again. After that, he passes, and during his end step, I activate the Hearse to eat the Academy Rector and a fetch land from Bryce's graveyard. Bryce draws and plays Atraxa. After that, he passes, and uses Atraxa to proliferate Urza Saga. Eric draws and casts a Go-Shintai of Life's Origin. He draws 2 off the Stetson Champion, and plays a Wooded Bastion and a Command Tower as his land for turn. Eric follows up with a Go-Shintai of Boundless Vigor, making another Shrine token, and drawing 2. After that, he passes. I draw and play a tapped Irrigated Farmland. With nothing else, I pass, and during my end step, Kuzno cracks a clue token to draw a card. Kuzno draws and floats a Colorless off of Urza Saga before moving it to the final chapter to go and fetch a Merchant's Dockhand, getting a clue token as it comes in. He then plays a Misty Rainforest and cracks it, losing 1 to find a forest. And then casts a Thought Monitor, drawing 1 from the Beast Whisperer and then 2 from it entering, and then makes a clue token. Kuzno then casts a Simic Signet and mutates a Parcel Beast onto the Beast Whisperer, which draws him another card, and he passes after that. Bryce draws and casts a Arena Rector, and then goes to combat. He swings Atraxa at Kuzno, dealing 4, and during his end step, he makes a deal with Eric to proliferate the Stetson Champion in exchange for not getting attacked by it. Eric draws and plays a Savai Triome. He then plays Reki, History of Kamigawa, and then an Honor Worm Shaku. After that, Eric passes, and mills Bryce for 5 with the blue Go-Shintai. And I activate my Hearse, exiling a Johnny and Skitherix, and then flash in a Shimmermere. Eric responds to this by untapping his Shaku by tapping the Go-Shintai of Boundless Vigor. I draw and play a Sky Sovereign and blast Reki for 3. I then pass, and during my end step, Kuzno activates the Parcel Beast to draw a card. Kuzno draws and plays a Forest. He then casts a Food Chain, and Bryce responds by pitching a Deep Glow Skate to cast Force of Will, which successfully counters it. Kuzno then follows up with Jaheira, drawing a card and making a clue token. He then casts a Root Out on Life's Origin, which makes him another clue, and then taps his clues for mana thanks to Jaheira to cast a Funnel Web Recluse, making 2 clue tokens and drawing a card from the Beast Whisperer. After that, he passes. Bryce draws and plays a Diabolic Intent, sacrificing the Arena Rector to tutor for a card. The Rector goes and finds Soren Markov, putting to the field, and he finds a card. Bryce then downticks Soren to put Kuzno to 10 life, and moves to combat, swinging Atraxa at Eric to deal 4. Eric draws and casts a Sphinx of the Second Sun with the help of his Honor War Shaku. Bryce responds with a Brainstorm, but with no counterspells, the Sphinx resolves. Eric then plays a Sanctum of Stone Fangs, and Kuzno activates the Parcel Beast to draw. Moving to his combat step, Eric swings the 7/9 Stetson Champion at Kuzno, who jumps with his Thought Monitor. Eric then moves through his phases until the Sphinx triggers, untapping, upkeeping, and drawing from the Sphinx, and then during his end step, I activate the Hearse to exile 2 cards from Bryce's graveyard, and Eric has 2 Go-Shintai triggers at the end of his turn, paying to mill Bryce for 5, and put 5 +1/+1 counters onto his Go-Shintai. I gain 1 life from the Inventor's Fair, and draw. I play a Glacial Fortress, and cast a Shimmer Dragon, and pass. Kuzno draws and plays an island. He evokes a Wave Sifter, drawing a card and making 3 clue tokens. He follows up with a Floodhound, making a clue token and drawing a card. And then casts Kiora, Master of Waves. He downticks her to get a Reliquary Tower, and then plays Press for Answers, and targets the blue Go-Shintai. Eric untaps the Shaku in response, and it then resolves, and with nothing else, Kuzno passes. Bryce draws and plays an island. He casts Doubling Season, and upticks Soren to kill the green Go-Shintai. Moving to his end step, Bryce proliferates Soren, and Eric activates the Hall of Heliod's Generosity to put the green Go-Shintai on top of his library, but I respond by exiling it with the Hearse. Eric draws, and we each lose 4, and he gains 4 from the Sanctum of Stone Fangs. He then recasts Go-Shintai of Life's Origin, making a Shrine and drawing 2. After that, he plays a Noble Hierarch and a Sanctum Weaver and goes to combat. Eric swings 2 Shrines and the Stetson Champion and the Dryad at Soren, and Bryce eats the Dryad but lets Soren die. Eric then passes through his phases till he gets his Sphinx trigger, getting to untap, upkeep, and draw, and pays the 1 to mill me for 6. Once that's done, I use the Shimmer Dragon to draw a card. I gain a life and draw a card for turn. I play an Exotic Orchard, and pass, and during my end step, Kuzno activates his Merchant's Dockhand, paying 4 into it, and then activates the Parcel Beast. Kuzno draws and plays a Reliquary Tower. He downticks Kiora again, and then plays a Briar Bridge Tracker, drawing a card and making 2 clue tokens. He then activates the Merchant's Dockhand for 6 this time, and passes. Bryce draws and plays an island. He casts Tamio the Moon Sage, and ultimates her before passing. Eric draws, and goes to drain everyone for 6, but Kuzno responds by sacrificing 6 clue tokens to Lonis, which gains him 18 life. He then looks at the top 6 cards of Eric's deck, and puts a Satyr Enchantress onto the battlefield. We all then take 6, and Eric plays a Rafine's Tower as his land for turn. He then casts a Verduran Enchantress, a Weaver of Harmony, and Go-Shintai of Hidden Cruelty. Eric then follows up with a Paradox Haze on himself and Sterling Grove, as well as a Go-Shintai of Shared Purpose. Moving to combat, he swings the blue Go-Shintai and the Stetson Champion at Kuzno, who responds by casting a Rampage of the Clans. Eric responds to this by untapping his Shaku and cracking the Sterling Grove. And I tap 2 artifacts to draw a card with the Shimmer Dragon. And then exile 2 cards from Bryce's graveyard with the Hearse. The table then gets a bunch of Centaurs, and Kuzno uses one of them to chump the champion. Before finishing combat though, I cast March of Swirling Mists, phasing out the Sphinx and 7 of Eric's Centaurs. After that, Eric passes. I draw and play a Prairie Stream. I go to combat and swing the Shimmer Dragon and my Centaurs at Eric. They all connect, and after that, I pass. During my end step, Kuzno makes a clue token with a Floodhound, and activates the Parcel Beast, and gets to put a land into play from it. Kuzno draws and plays a Command Tower. He then plays an Argent Sphinx, and makes a clue token, and then casts a Drownyard Explorers, and gets to investigate as it enters from Lonis and its own ability. Going to combat, he swings his Centaurs and the Briarbridge Tracker at Eric, dealing a total of 9. After combat, Kuzno casts a Tireless Tracker and passes. Bryce draws and swings his Centaur and Atraxa at Eric, while Kuzno blinks his Argent Sphinx. After combat, Bryce then passes, with the Sphinx re-entering and making Kuzno a clue. Eric draws and casts an Eerie Ultimatum, bringing back his entire graveyard basically. He makes 6 Shrine tokens and draws 11 cards off the Stetson Champion, not to mention pumps it up. He then plays a Shipwreck Marsh and an island for his land for turn. He follows up with a Sanctum of All, making another shrine and drawing 2 more, and then goes to combat. He swings with the Stetson Champion at me for 30, and 7 Centaurs at Bryce. Bryce eats one of them with Atraxa, and we then take our hits. In his post-combat main phase, Eric then plays a Sphere of Safety, and Kuzno once more blinks the Argent Sphinx. We then pass through to the Sphinx triggers, and Sanctum of All goes to grab a Hoden of Infinite Rage, and after that, Eric passes. I draw, but with nothing going on, have to pass turn. Kuzno draws and plays a Darksteel Citadel, and then activates the Parcel Beast, drawing a card. He casts a Secret of the Keys to make a clue token, and then Fleeting Memories, which Eric responds to by overloading Cyclonic Rift. Kuzno responds back by countering it with Confirmed Suspicions, which Eric responds to in response with the Teferi's Protection to phase out. Kuzno then makes a bunch of clue tokens, and casts a Byway Courier to make another. He then plays an Ongoing Investigation and Rings of Brighthearth, and activates Lonis and targets Bryce for 10, gaining 30 life as he sacrifices the clues, and then pays to copy the ability from Lonis with the rings. He gets to keep Tezzeret the Seeker and Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, and down takes Tezzeret for 4 to find an Academy Manufacturer. Kuzno then upticks Teferi, drawing a card and untapping 2 lands. He then cracks 2 clues to draw some cards. He follows up with a Destiny Spinner and cracks another clue to draw a card. Kuzno then casts a Morph Creature and activates it to flip a Den Protector face up, returning Food Chain to hand, and then casts it and a Mist Hollow Griffin. This will allow him to basically draw his entire deck, but he stops at some point and exiles a Beast Whisperer instead. He's able to also make infinite clues and treasure and food at this point, and then plays on an infinitely large Walking Ballista. He's able to kill Bryce and I at this point, and we'll be able to take out Eric on his upkeep, and knowing we're done for, we scoop it up. Game review time. My goodness, was Eric's board state a mess. He had so many permanents out, it was getting hard to keep track of near the end. I think this was also the first time that I've ever seen an Eerie Ultimatum being cast, and my goodness, does the value you get from that one spell seem incredible. Yes, it's very intensive mana color wise, but it basically brought back his entire board, including lands and other things like that. Kuzno's Lonis deck is actually probably one of the first decks in a long time from Simic that I'm actually interested in. He really went with the clue theme, and he was running cards that you typically wouldn't see in a normal EDH deck, which I thought was kinda cool. Bryce's Atraxa deck was certainly pretty, and he had a lot of alternate foil arts, which were gorgeous to see in person. It was an Atraxa Super Friends deck though, which I've seen a lot of times, especially since Trevor has a very similar one, so I don't have much to say about it. My Shorikai deck didn't do a whole heck of a lot, and even with the Shimmer Mirror, I found myself often in a position where I needed to keep mana up in order to have responses to other people's stuff, then be able to forward my board state. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, Cool Stuff Inc., Multizone, Original Magic Art, and Alter Sleeves. But it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.